Ms. Nash, seconded by Ms. Leslie, moves that, in the opinion of this House, the government should A. Take immediate action to promote job creation and address the persistently high unemployment rate among Canadian workers, particularly high among young Canadians, in the context of the International Monetary Fund prediction of yet higher unemployment rates in the future unless swift action is taken. B. Take immediate action to ensure all Canadians can rely on a stable and guaranteed pension as they plan their retirement in a period of record household debt and declining stock markets. C. Take immediate action to fix the crumbling infrastructure essential to our economy and the security of Canadians. And D. Maintain the full public sector contribution to the Canadian economy so as to take advantage of low interest rates, undertake strategic public investments, increase Canada's competitiveness, avert another serious recession, and create jobs in Canada. The Honourable Member for Parkdale High Park.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to introduce the first Opposition Day motion in this parliamentary session. Over the past few months, the Conservatives have continued to boast about Canada's economic recovery, even in the face of economic turmoil abroad and stagnating growth here at home. Monsieur le Président.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians know that the government's assurances do not reflect reality. Too many high-quality jobs that enable people to make ends meet have been lost. Canadian families' budgets are tighter and tighter because of their job losses. On the world level, there have been difficulties. We have increasing unemployment, and we may soon be in a new recession. Mr. Speaker, the new economic problems that Canadians are encountering have nothing to do with the deficit and everything to do with the economy and the labour market. If there are more cuts by the government, the economy will be weakened rather than strengthened.
That now is the time to make strategic investments to promote economic growth and attack the real deficit, the jobs deficit. Canadians are tired of talk. What we need now is action. The Conservative government must reconsider its failed approach of something-for-nothing corporate tax cuts and spending cuts, and instead put in place a jobs plan, a plan that gets Canadians back to work. Monsieur le Président.
Mr. Speaker, the labour market is now weaker than it has been since before the October 2008 crisis. The unemployment rate is at 7.3%, whereas the part-time workers and those looking for jobs have increased very quickly. Full-time, good jobs that enable families to meet and their make ends meet are scarce. There are many workers that have withdrawn from the labour market. There are many others who are at part-time jobs who would like to work full-time. 9.4% of Canadians are underemployed.
The government's repeated boasting about their jobs record, close to 1.4 million Canadians remain unemployed. When you lose those jobs, it's a tragedy for those individuals. When you include those who have become discouraged by weak job prospects or who are underemployed, that number rises to close to 2 million. 2 million individual tragedies. That's 2 million Canadians for whom the government's boasting is just a slap in the face.
The lack of progress in getting Canadians back to work is certainly disappointing, to say the least. Canadians are working in the same numbers as before the 2008 crisis, but 420,000 more Canadians would have jobs if that were the case.
Will rise this year, and in 2012, our economy grows far more slowly than anticipated. And to make matters worse, only 39.6% of the officially unemployed qualify for unemployment insurance, even if they have paid into the program themselves. That's 2 out of 5 Canadians who are actually qualifying for the benefits that they have paid for. And only 26.8% of the real unemployed are covered by EI benefits. Canadians are facing both rising unemployment and decreasing EI coverage, adding insult to injury. At the same time, household debt has hit record levels of 150%, leaving families struggling to make ends meet. Mr. Speaker, the government's lack of leadership on job creation has real economic costs. Our lower unemployment rate today represents lost wages alone of more than $20 billion, not to mention the billions in economic stimulus and tax revenues that go along with them. Quel est le résultat?
What is happening here? Economic growth has stagnated. In all sectors, there have been decreases in the estimates of our growth. The Conservative budgets have been based on unrealistic growth estimates.
Even if Canada and the U.S. avoid another recession, Ottawa will fall far short of the estimates for growth in Minister Flaherty's last budget. The Conservatives claim that the solution to all of this is simply more of the same failed policy of no strings attached tax cuts for the same wealthy corporations. But with the money they've received in tax breaks, large corporations have invested outside of Canada, they've paid themselves, their executives, exorbitant bonuses, and they've moved good-paying, quality Canadian jobs overseas. Canadian corporations today are sitting on $500 billion, $120 billion of which is through corporate tax cuts, at a time when the economy is in dire need of investment. Mr. Speaker, instead of excusing themselves because we are doing better than sicker economies in the G8, the government must put in place policies that encourage private sector investment in our economy here at home. And if we want others to express confidence in the economy, we must take the lead by investing in the economy, not by cutting billions of dollars in public spending. Economists agree it's the wrong time to take money out of the economy. Doug Porter of BMO told the Finance Committee this week that recent drops in government bond yield rates are a sign that financial markets are stressed about economic growth prospects, not government deficits or inflation. The Conference Board of Canada has also emphasized that this is not the time to put the brakes on government spending and government investment. Instead, the government must be willing to step back and consider its approach in response to economic reality. Monsieur le Président.
Mr. Speaker, the Canadian economy is facing serious risks because of our dependence on the U.S. and European market. The American economy remains very weak because of the paralyzed real estate market, its high debt, and its weak recovery measures. We fear that there will be a double-dip recession, and that has affected the stock markets in recent months. The OECD and the IMF predict that the recovery will be very slow in developed countries, which will have a significant impact on Canadian exports. TD Financial Services has indicated that there are certainly possibilities of avoiding a recession, but we may well be headed in Canada for one. The Bank of Nova Scotia has indicated that we are dealing with the real possibility that the Canadian economy may be the first one to face recession.
To be flexible and must consider its planned spending cuts in light of global economic instability. Yet, despite the fragile global economy and Canada's shaky economic recovery, Conservatives want to cut off all stimulus and cut tens of billions of dollars out of the economy. Radical spending cuts, even before the private sector is prepared to start investing again, hurts Canadian families and Canadian communities. The Governor of the Bank of Canada has made it clear that this is no time for undercutting demand in the economy, and that's why he's keeping interest rates low.
If we look at what happened in 2008, this government tends to allow problems to deteriorate before taking action. We need action. We need a plan to create jobs, and we need it now.
Today, the opposition calls upon the government to take immediate action to promote job creation, to ensure that all Canadians can rely on a stable retirement future, to undertake strategic investments to fix the crumbling infrastructure essential to our economy and to the security of Canadians, and to maintain the full public sector contribution to the Canadian economy. In order to increase Canada's competitiveness and avert another recession, Madam Speaker, the total Canadian net government debt is 33.7% of GDP, compared to an OECD average of 62.6%, about half. Interest rates are at historic lows. This is an opportunity to make strategic investments. When money it costs much less, interest rates are low, jobs and infrastructure are sorely needed. The Toronto Board of Trade emphasizes that a strong infrastructure foundation is a top priority in ensuring economic competitiveness now and in the future. In fact, the OECD has concluded that Toronto's lack of transportation infrastructure is a leading drag on the region's global competitiveness. Madam Speaker, we're not just talking about spending, but about investment. There's a difference. We need to express confidence in Canada's economy and attract private sector investment by investing in targeted incentives for the real job creators. We need to invest in critical public infrastructure, roads, bridges, public transit, broadband internet, greening the economy, making sure that First Nations have potable water in every community, training workers for the new economy, housing, early childhood education. The Department of Finance itself recognizes that infrastructure investment has more than 5 times the economic impact of corporate income tax cuts. In fact, this fact is published in the appendix of its budget in 2009. Madam Speaker, Canadians want action on job creation and real economic growth, not billions of dollars in corporate tax giveaways and cuts to services. And economists agree. Now is not the time for cutting billions of dollars out of our economy. What we need, Madam Speaker, is strategic investment to support job creation and economic growth now and in the future. New Democrats believe that the best way to improve our economy and address our debt is through policies that put Canadians back to work. This is no time to retrench. It is a time for public investment. We can express confidence in the Canadian economy by undertaking significant investments in the infrastructure that is necessary for Canada to stay competitive in the economy of the future. Monsieur le Président,
Madam Speaker, we all know that jobs are key to a stable economy. Let's stop making the situation a political one. What we need now is to set aside party rivalries and to work together to adopt pragmatic suggestions and solutions for job creation, economic productivity, and investments that would make it possible to increase the productivity of Canadian workers.
New employee tax credit for employers who hold new hires for a year or more. Solutions like a reduction in taxes for small businesses, not large corporations. Small businesses are the ones investing in job creation here at home. That's why we're urging the government to drop the small business tax rate from 11% to 9%. It's a 2 percentage point tax break that'll help create jobs and growth right here in our communities. Nous avons besoin d'une stratégie en...
We need strategies for energy, which are consistent with the 21st century. But Conservatives continue to use outdated approaches by continuing to focus on the oil and gas sector instead of clean energy. Canada cannot move forward. This is a hard hit for the economy and the environment. It's time now to build the economy of the future by investing in green infrastructure in order to make renewable energy accessible across the country.
Madam Speaker, today the official opposition rises to call upon the government to put politics aside, to focus more on the horizon and less on lines in the sand, and to take immediate action to put Canadians back to work, grow our economy now and into the future. Merci beaucoup.